I mean, he's so blatantly stupid. He's a punk, he's a dog, he's a pig, he's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about, doesn't do his homework, doesn't care, thinks he's gaming society, doesn't pay his taxes. He's an idiot. Colin Powell said it best. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country.
A two-time Oscar winner walks onto a live stage and drops a truth grenade so blunt the network has to scramble the bleep button. And a former president goes into a days-long public tailspin because he cannot stand that the crowd is cheering for the other guy. That is the simple core of this story. Robert De Niro exposed Donald Trump on live TV, not with some obscure policy lecture, but with the kind of plain speech that slices through spin, and Trump lost it, loudly, repeatedly, and in full view.
Look at the lame, inane things that he said. He's so stupid, he can't even say anything clever or smooth. He's a moron. But he's a scary one. And in all seriousness, and we know it here, people have to get out and vote and vote.
If you remember the moment, you remember the sound, the bleep, the standing ovation anyway. The headlines the next morning, and if you are new here, get ready, because we are going to run the tape from the first on-air shots in 2016, to the viral detonation at the Tony Awards in 2018, to the courthouse microphones in 2024, when De Niro showed up as a citizen and said, "This is what a threat to democracy looks like."
He is a malignant narcissist. He's a socio-psychopath. He's created some new language as far as describing somebody in his mental condition. It's so frightening and scary, and he's dangerous.
The roast then moves to Trump's obsession with fame.
As always, drop your first memory of De Niro versus Trump in the comments. Was it the bleeped line at the Tonys, the punch him in the face video during the campaign, or the courthouse press conference that made Trump rage post into the night? Let us rewind to the spark that made this a public feud rather than a private opinion.
So angry that this country has gotten to this point, that this fool, this bozo, has wound up where he has. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face. This is somebody that we want for president? I don't think so. What I care about is the direction of this country. And what I'm very, very worried about is that it might go in the wrong direction with someone like Donald Trump. If you care about your future, vote.
The fall of 2016 was chaos. The election was burning through every screen in America, and a set of celebrity voter messages were being cut together to remind people to show up. De Niro filmed his own take. The organizers could not use it in the nonpartisan package because he did not speak in bland studio voice. He spoke like a New Yorker who has seen enough. He called Trump a bozo, a punk, a dog, a pig, and said he would like to punch him in the face.
I don't think so.
Why do you think, I'm curious why you would guess that there's a big group of people in this country who believe that he cares about them?
I am totally dumbfounded, baffled by that. I can't understand it. And it's a thing that we've seen over decades and decades. And he's a what's it, Tammy Faye and the other one?
Yes.
It's the same thing, give us your money, we're going to save you. Yeah, televangelist. It's just the same thing. And it's so obvious. I just don't understand people could buy it. I just don't know. It's all an act in a certain way. It's all out of insecurity. He's deeply, deeply.
The clip went up on its own and exploded across television and social feeds. Cable news played it on loop with anchors apologizing for the language. Late-night hosts ran the bit in their monologues. People either loved it or clutched pearls, but everyone heard it.
He is a malignant narcissist. He's a socio-psychopath. He's created some new language as far as describing somebody in his mental condition. It's so frightening and scary, and He's
This was the first clean, on-camera record of De Niro making the case that Trump is not just a bad candidate, but a bad act. There was no backstage ambiguity. It was right there in broad daylight, and Trump world took note. Cut to November 2016, days after the election, when De Niro sat with Jimmy Kimmel. He said, "Look, you cannot punch the president." He did not walk back the critique, he adjusted to reality. That is an important beat in the timeline.
can't be. It cannot be. If he wins the election, you won't be on the show anymore. He'll come looking for me. There'll be things that happen that none of us can imagine. That's what happens in that kind of a dictatorship.
He made clear he was not calling for violence. He was calling for accountability, and he would keep calling for it with words. It was a national TV calibration. The message did not change, the method did. He kept it on the record and on the air. And from that point forward, every time De Niro showed up live, Trump responded. Sometimes it took a day, sometimes it took an hour. But the pattern formed. De Niro talks. The crowd cheers. Trump rages.
But he's a scary one. And in all seriousness, and we know it here, people have to get out and vote and vote and vote and vote.
Yeah, one time each.
I just don't know. It's all an act in a certain way. It's all out of insecurity. He's deeply, deeply insecure. He is a malignant narcissist. He's a socio-psychopath. He's created some new language as far as describing somebody in his mental condition. It's so frightening and scary, and he's dangerous. We got to get rid of him.
Do you ever?
And shame.
Now we hit the live television moment that turned a feud into a cultural snapshot. June 2018, the Tony Awards. Live on CBS. De Niro walks out to introduce Bruce Springsteen, a living American icon, and decides to clear his throat first. He says one thing, you know the line. The network hits the censor button, but the audience hears him anyway because the room hears him, and the room reacts like a struck match. People were not applauding profanity. They were applauding a famous man saying out loud what millions had been whispering in kitchens and group chats for 2 years. That is why it hit. It was not a policy white paper. It was catharsis on a national broadcast. The next morning, every outlet ran the bleeped clip. International channels aired it uncensored. Reporters camped outside Trump's online accounts waiting for a response. And when it came with the same familiar cocktail of insults, nicknames. Trump called De Niro washed up. He called him a low IQ actor. The specific words are less important than the reflex. The need to punch back at a stage that did not belong to him. He could not let the camera stay on a critic. He had to climb into the frame with rage and try to steal the shot. Fast forward to March 2024. De Niro sits opposite Bill Maher on a live Friday night show and says the quiet part with a clear voice.
Robert De Niro, a very low IQ individual, has received he spelled two wrong, many shots to the head by real boxers in movies. I watched him last night, truly believe he may be punch drunk, and then he says, at the end, he says, wake up punchy, he says to you. And that's not the only time, and he moved over to Truth Social. Robert De Niro, whose acting talents have greatly diminished with his reputation now shot, must even use a teleprompter for his foul and disgusting language. So disrespectful to our country. Now, in all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump?
There is nothing redeemable in Trump. He calls him a monster, not in the Hollywood sense, in the moral sense. He says a second Trump term would be a nightmare, and he does not say it in melodrama. He says it with the flat calm of a man who has played villains and understands the difference between theatrics and intent. The audience laughs at the punchlines, then goes quiet at the warnings. The next day, the commentary explodes again. Here is what changes in 2024. The conversation is not about whether De Niro is being rude. It is about whether the stakes he is naming are real. The years of tape have piled up. The country has lived the consequences. When he says nightmare, it is not abstract. Everyone knows what he is pointing at.
Trump, this kind of government will perish from the earth. I don't mean to scare you. No, wait, maybe I do mean to scare you. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave.
Now scratch the record and drop the needle on 1 week in May 2024, because this is where Trump truly loses it in real time. On May 24th, a Biden campaign ad voiced by De Niro goes up on national air and digital. It is 30 seconds of clear memory. Pandemic chaos, bleach nonsense, tear gas in Lafayette Square. The message is simple. This man is out for revenge, and revenge is not a platform. It is a threat. No stunts. Just a voice that people trust telling them to pay attention.
To me, it's more than heartbreaking. It's a really, really serious situation we're in. I don't want to bring people down, but I mean,
No.
it's like...
Yeah, I think they came pre-down.
Yeah, well, it's like a pall around, certain things. It's like living in an abusive household. You feel you don't know what's going to happen next, what crazy thing is going to happen next, what's going to make you say, what the hell's going on?
Yeah,
and
because only one angry person gets to say what is real.
Exactly.
What the truth is.
Exactly, and the truth is not from him, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And...
Trump hated the ad because it grafted De Niro's credibility onto a political message, and it ran everywhere. 4 days later, De Niro appears outside the Manhattan courthouse where Trump is standing trial, and he does what almost no celebrity does well. He shows up as a citizen. He does not do a bit. He does not do a red carpet. He stands behind a podium with police officers who fought a mob and calls Trump what he believes he is: a clown, a tyrant, a danger to democracy. Carry the presser live. Cable channels air long cuts. Clips flood every feed. De Niro is not hiding on a movie set. He is on the street in broad daylight with cameras rolling, and the symbolism is obvious. Here is the rule of law. Here is a defendant. Here is a famous American refusing to pretend this is normal. Trump could not absorb that picture without striking back. Within hours, his social posts pop like fireworks.
I hate bullies, thugs who use their strength to push other people around. They think they can achieve power and hang on to it by intimidating others. Sadly, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. And now we have Trump. He's all that, about intimidation, retribution. He's going to prosecute. He's going to send you to jail for having an abortion. He's going to take your Medicare and Social Security away. He's going to deport you. He's going to send the military after you if you defy him. You know what this shit works on? The MAGA politicians who are afraid of losing their power. They're so afraid of him, he's got them kissing his ass. And now they're trying to intimidate us.
He calls De Niro names that sound like a middle school cafeteria. He calls him washed up again. He calls him small. He attacks his career, his intelligence, his relevance, everything but the substance of the warning. That is the tell. When Trump is cornered by facts, he insults the messenger.
Donald Trump wants to destroy not only the city, but the country, and eventually he could destroy the world. If Trump returns to the White House, you can kiss these freedoms goodbye that we all take for granted. And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave.
When the messenger lives in the collective imagination like De Niro does, the insults only make him look smaller. The reaction kept rolling for days. Conservative hosts mocked De Niro. Progressive hosts cheered him. Neutral reporters simply replayed the footage because the footage was the story. A world-famous actor calling a former president a would-be autocrat outside a courthouse in Manhattan.
You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life?
While officers who were beaten on January 6th stood alongside him. You do not need narration to understand the stakes. The image explains itself. There are two more beats worth weaving in. First, the Cannes podium in 2025, where De Niro spoke internationally about the danger of strongman politics and the way American culture cannot pretend to be insulated from its own worst impulses. This was not US live TV, but it was a live global microphone, and it demonstrated that De Niro is not playing a 4-year game. He is playing a long one.
Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. He is beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Are you
Excuse my French.
Second, the misinformation speed bumps you have seen online. Every time awards season rolls around, someone tries to pass off the 2018 Tonys clip as a fresh Oscars outburst. It is not. It was the Tonys. It aired live. It was censored on American TV and uncensored elsewhere. Correcting that in your head will keep you from spreading junk. It will also remind you how effective the original clip was because fake versions of it still go viral.
We will not allow that, not even for a minute, not even for a second. We need to show them our power and vote them all out, every one of them. The way to take down a bully is to look them straight in the eye and then watch them start to crumble. That's what Kamala Harris did at the debate where she totally dominated Trump, using her intelligence, her experience, her decency, and her actual plans to make life better for Americans. She reduced Trump to the little blustering punk that he is. Trump doesn't have a clue about anything, about how to lead. He only knows how to bully. And now, thanks to Kamala Harris, we know he can't even do that. Now is the time for all of us to stand up against intimidation. Join me in voting for true leadership for all Americans. Join me in voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Thank you.
So why does this combination of blunt language and live microphones make Trump lose it? Because Trump's power is volume and De Niro's power is gravity. Trump floods the zone and changes the subject with chaos. De Niro speaks rarely and lands like an anvil when he does. One is a fire hose, one is a bell. When De Niro rings the bell on a broadcast that reaches millions, no hashtag can drown it.
You've played a lot of bad guys. Would you ever play Donald Trump?
Never. There's nothing about him. There's not one redeeming thing in him that I can see ever. And it's funny, I was just thinking that he actually became president. He could have done good things. Instead, he had to do it all wrong. He's so, as we all know, so narcissistic and self-centered.
He wants standing ovations while calling the audiences who give them elites. Nothing irritates him more than a room he cannot control, cheering a line he cannot erase. The Tonys proved that truth on live TV. The courthouse presser proved it in broad daylight. The Meyer couch proved it on a Friday night when people lean back and tell the truth after a week of pretending.
What do you say to those who say, I don't like the guy, but I'm going to vote for him? What's your message to them?
I don't understand it. I don't think they understand how dangerous it will be if he ever, God forbid, becomes president. I don't think they really understand. And historically, from what I see, even in Nazi Germany, they had it with Hitler. They don't take him serious. He looks like a clown, acts like a clown. Mussolini, same thing. These guys, I don't know why, they look like clowns. They somehow, that element of society identifies in some ways with them, but it would be chaos beyond our imagination. There's no mystery about him.
De Niro never sounds breathless. He is not panting. He is not trying to win you with speed. He is trying to win you with memory. He reminds you of what you saw and asks you to use your eyes. That is why the ad voiceover worked. That is why the courthouse moment worked. That is why the bleeper at CBS could not stop the sentiment from getting through. It is all memory work.
He's right out front, and what he says is what it'll be if he becomes president.
Do you think our democracy is at risk in this election?
I think that it is. I always keep saying democracy is great, of course, but democracy people take for granted. It's a word that some people don't even understand. They take it for granted. It's about right and wrong, period. The guy's a monster. It's beyond wrong. It's almost like he wants to do the most horrible things that he can think of in order to get a rise out of us. I don't know what it is, but he's been doing it, and it's scary.
Do you remember who gassed a peaceful crowd? Do you remember who suggested injecting disinfectant? Do you remember the footage of officers getting crushed in a doorway while a flag waved above them? If you do, then you understand why a man who spent a lifetime telling American stories would take a day off from being an actor to be a witness. If you are still with us, this is a good moment to support the channel. Tap subscribe, drop a comment with the clip you want us to break down next, and share this with one friend who swears they do not have time for politics, but strangely has time for 3 hours of reality TV every night.
You've been a fairly outspoken critic of Donald Trump, it's safe to say. Yeah. And he's aware of it, right? He's noticed, yeah. He pays attention to stuff like that. But you wrote a letter in support to your friend Meryl Streep after the Golden Globes.
Yes.
Did you write it directly to her? How do you contact Meryl Streep?
I call her.
You call her? Okay, great.
But I didn't. I emailed that to her, and I also emailed another personal from me to her. That was like a thing to her for people to see. Let me just send her another little email.
We will keep bringing you the receipts, the context, and the cut, clean and on time. There is a final piece to the psychology of Trump losing it that matters. De Niro is not a politician. He cannot be dismissed as a rival for votes. He is not some faceless bureaucrat. He is a man whose career is stitched into America's movie memory, and that makes him hard to turn into a villain. Trump tries anyway, because that is the only gear he has.
Do you have any concerns for the future of the arts if you were to become president? He has already said he wants to go after his enemies. He wants to go after journalists and the news media. What about your industry?
I believe he will. The only thing that I would think is that what'll happen is that he'll go after these things like he always impulsively, and he'll be stopped. There'll be pushback, a lot of it, and there might be as much pushback as needed, like in the streets, conflict that could happen, civil strife, because but he will try it.
When the insults bounce off, when the crowd keeps cheering, his frustration turns into more posting, more interviews, more wild claims. That reaction is the news. De Niro exposes him by forcing him to expose himself, by lighting the fuse that makes Trump show the very temperament the country has learned to fear.
It would be great if the Oscars were also phones, so you could just pick up and say, "Give me Meryl."
There you go.
I also, I guess this was this the night before the inauguration that you were at a rally reading fake tweets that you had written?
No, was it the night? Yeah, it was the night before. Yeah.
So you went on stage at a protest rally, and you had written some. These are, by the way, this is very likely that Donald Trump would eventually write these about you.
Could be, sure.
De Niro's career is a disaster. He was passed over for Godfather 4 and Magnificent 7. Pathetic.
It is a loop. De Niro speaks. Trump lashes out. The lashing out proves the point that he is unfit. People see the proof with their own eyes. So yes, Trump loses it when De Niro exposes him on live TV, and he has been losing it for almost a decade, in beats that any editor could cut into a devastating 2-minute montage.
De Niro should give back his Oscars. Voting was rigged. There's only one true raging bull, and that's Vladimir Putin. See that?
There you go.
An extremely credible Nobu. That's a sushi restaurant
yes,
here.
Yeah.
And you're a co-founder of Nobu.
Yes.
Because otherwise people will be wondering, why is that a slam on Robert De Niro?
Exactly.
Famous fishmonger, Robert De
Yeah.
Niro. An extremely credible source told me that Nobu uses raw fish in their sushi.
The 2016 clip that set the tone, the 2018 Tonys that set the internet on fire, the Maher conversation that set the stakes without yelling, the 2024 ad that threaded memory into message, the courthouse podium that framed democracy against a defendant's ego and made the entire scene impossible to spin.
The idea to be bullied at my age by someone like this is not happening.
I'm pretty sure you were never bullied.
No, there was a kid sometime this, that, but the point is not, and for the country, no. And I think other people are gonna have to stand up and just, because it's either that or you're gonna find yourself in a situation that's so terrifying. We always hear about people from Eastern Europe, the Jews from other parts of Eastern Europe, from Western Europe, coming over. Look what happened in France with the Nazis and so on. And they come over and you hear these, and when I was a kid, they'd say, you don't really appreciate this country. You don't really appreciate what we know from experience. Imagine what those people went through. I'm just starting to see it. As a kid, I said, Hitler, it's a nightmare that never would happen. But now I see that it's possible.
Every time Trump tries to pull the camera back to himself with rage, and every time the camera shows you exactly what he is trying to hide. That is what exposure means in this context. It does not mean a brand new secret. It means a bright light, a live feed, a famous voice, and a man who cannot stand to hear that he is not the hero in the story. If you are watching on Instagram, please follow. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe to America Facticity for more breaking news.